Hey guys, DFW's Cars here. I'm here today with an all-new Audi A4 with the Sport package. I'm going to be sharing with you today exactly what makes this car all new, what makes it so great both technically from a performance standpoint, and whether I think it is one of the best cars in this class today, especially among the Germans. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? A lot of people will comment this car doesn't really look all new. But especially in the front, it really is all new. Granted, it's reminiscent of a little bit of the new A3 in there with slight, different tail lights, a little bit more slopey grille. So it is new enough that it looks different, that it looks better. It kind of reminds me of the tweaks they made to the Porsche Panamera. Let's go around the sides here. Really thick rims and tires on this car if you get the Sport package and the 19-inch rims, which I definitely recommend. Lowers the car by about an inch, just makes it handle great. There's a video where I'm driving the car and vlogging, from it as well, which will talk a little bit more about, in the car performance. These 19-inch rims really do add to the equation here. Even from the side, there are new aspects of the car that do make it look nicer. The mirrors are all new. This line that runs just right along the entire length of the car, the belt line here, is tweaked and new, and it gives it a long, lean, very cohesive stance. I think probably this car is most basic from the side, or it definitely looks most like the old one from the side. Let's go on to the back, which has definitely been changed quite a bit. All new tail lights, all new trunk, all new bumpers. So, that's about as new as you can get. Granted, you can still look at this car and say, hey, that's an A4, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. The rear three-quarter of this car, again, it's long, it's lean, and it's low, which I think it makes it one of the better looking cars out there. Granted, that's subjective, but, no one would say this car was unattractive, which I think is what Audi was going for, and I think they succeeded. One thing I'm really excited to show you guys that Audi found a way to get past US regulators are these blinkers here that actually have motion to them and just look really, really gorgeous and really incredible. For a while, some of the European Audis had that, but in the US, they didn't get that. Also, the way Audi's redesigned the LED lights in front and the blinker, it doesn't necessarily look so much like, one of your LEDs just kind of broke. Now that the blinker is part of the LED itself, it looks a lot more cohesive. I wish the rest of it could still stay on and then the blinker could be separate still, like in the back to some degree, but I'll take it. It looks a lot better than how it did on some of the older Audis where they just killed the LED, which was separate over there. It looks so bad. Let's do some exhaust, check out the engine, then check out the interior, and talk about how it drives and how you get a nice turbo whirl from the interior of the car, which you can see a little bit more in my drive video I'll post at the end of this one. But it really is fast and furious. Now it looks nice too, and you can definitely tell Audi left room in here to put some much, much larger engines in the S4 and RS4 if we ultimately do get an RS4 here. We've explored everything on the outside of this car. Let's go ahead and hop in and see what it's like on the inside. I want to point out this touch though, these handles that rise upward. I wish the doors did that too, but it is a nice touch for the handle. It's very easy to use. Let's just look at this door when you get in. It's got the brushed aluminum here. It looks really, really nice. Even the switch gear is very nice, even chrome surrounds on it. The Bang & Olufsen, engraved speaker grille there. I definitely recommend the Premium Plus package on this car. It's really where you get the best value for your money. But this lights up at night as well. All right, let us get in and kind of check everything out in the interior here. Let me kind of start over here and we'll just work our way around here. Yeah, definitely nice little touches on all the trim here, these metallic bits and pieces that just really make it a nice car. Even this wheel, I said in the drive review, this really is reminiscent of the R8. Do get as standard, which I pointed out a little bit here, are these controls which, when you hover over them, different features, pop up. That's super handy, and it leads to a very minimalistic looking screen. So while we're talking about the climate control, as you can see here, the vents go all the way across, and this isn't just cosmetic. There is a mode here where you can open and close that vent. What's nice about it is, from a passenger perspective, you don't have to have the air necessarily blowing right in your face out of one of these two vents. You can kind of just have a more subtle air blow from there. The seats on this car are very, very sporty. Great bolstering on the sides here. They definitely keep you in. Adjustable thigh support down there. Down here you have the drive select options. That's standard on the car. Adjust steering, transmission, the general dynamics of the car, auto stop start, which you can kill. What I really like in this car is there's actually a sport mode for the stability control. Can't think of many cars in this price point that have that, and then of course the parking sensors front and rear here. Talking about sport functions, let's just go on to those now. A DSG transmission, a 7-speed dual clutch, in a baseline car, also extremely rare. I mean, Hyundai did it for a little while in like one of the SUVs in one other car. They're the only ones I can think of that are doing that. I hope that's a new trend. Love this cascading piece of aluminum here. Very, very nice. So while we're talking about the performance of this car, I mentioned the sport mode and the stability control. I mentioned the dual clutch transmission, and I mentioned that this has the sport suspension lowered an entire inch. Definitely you can tell the S-Line and RS-Line people had some say in that at Audi, because this car reminds me of, performance-wise, the E36 3 Series, in that, the newer 3 Series may be technically faster, and I mentioned Porsche-like in the other drive review, it really is, it feels so light on its feet, so communicative. The suspension and the steering and the transmission, what the engine, the wheels, the steering is doing at every single second. And that's extremely rare today. Cars are getting more and more isolated. BMW engineers came out and they said, well, people like that in their car. We tested the 5 Series driver, and they prefer, an isolated driving experience. I don't. So you've seen that trickle down in the 3 Series. Granted, you can get the sport package, but outside getting an actual M3, this car has better dynamics. The 3 Series is a bit long in its tooth, though. I hope to do a 3-way comparison between the C-Class, which is, the luxury end of this, and the BMW, which used to be the sporty end, but Audi has taken that now. So hopefully, BMW brings that back in the refreshed 3 Series when that comes out. I'm really hopeful, but in the meantime, this is the sports king. So the moonroof on this car isn't panoramic, but it is pretty deep and it is standard. So those are both two, very nice things. Lots, at least in the States here, lots of standard tech on this car that, you might have to pay extra for in some of the competitors. I always appreciate a good value, especially on tech you really want, like, a sunroof and a moonroof. So you can, keep the car cool, so you can have some sunshine, or at night, or even during the day if it's not too hot out, you can roll it back and, get some fresh air. Let's check out the back of this car. You probably won't be spending too much time here, but it is very, very spacious. I'm just a couple inches under 6 feet, and that seat is plenty far back up there, and there's still all this room down here, for me, not to mention there is also just a ton of headroom up here. I definitely have a few inches to spare in each direction. Even back here, you get a very nice, it's very wide. You could actually fit a third person here and not rub the shoulders too much. I was gonna say rub elbows. But yeah, it really is, much bigger than the old car, and in some ways it's some of the dimensions on this car are bigger than the current A6 that they're selling. So that's just wild to me. That blows my mind. LED reading lights up here, which are a super nice touch. and adjustable headrests, as well as you get the Bang & Olufsen engraved speaker grills down here, as well as an extra speaker up there, a tweeter, which gives you a nice sound back here. And you get the door lock, which is pretty nice. I don't know necessarily why you wanted to do that, but I guess there have been times where I was sitting in the back seat, and wanted to do that. So that's nice. I think it's as nice in back as it is in front of any car in this class, and that's nice for when you have passengers, or when you have a friend driving. It's actually a great way to get kind of a panoramic view of the front interior from the back here. I just realized, and really get a sense for how nice it is and how wide. Look how wide that dash looks, and then it just continues right into the door there really seamlessly, and then on back. So, minimalistic design, but that doesn't make it any less. All the material quality is absolutely top notch, as you would expect from an Audi. Lastly, you do get sort of a triple sealed door here, 1, 2, and then an inner seal here as well. Because of things like the laminated glass, those triple sealed doors, this is one of the quietest cars, not only in its class, but it's up there with the A8. It's up there with the Lexus at 60 miles an hour, in terms of being quiet, which you don't always want a quiet sports sedan, but when you're cruising on the highway, it is very serene. I've taken this car to a couple of different states, and it's a great driver. It gets 30 plus miles a gallon on the highway, cruises at below 2,000 RPM with that turbocharger. It's awesome. It's efficient, and when you put it in sport mode, you really get some performance. So I want to quickly go through exactly why I said earlier in the video that I think this may be one of the sportiest sedans in its class right now. And there's really 4 big reasons for that. First one, speed. This car has a 0 to 60 time of low 5 seconds, low to mids, 5.2, 5.5. I've definitely gotten some of those numbers. A car and driver had it at 5.2, which leads me to... The reason you're getting those numbers is twofold. First is the dual clutch transmission in this car. There's no lag between gears. So, you're gonna cut a lot of time off there. The second one is related to what I mentioned earlier, the sport stability control. When you disengage that and the auto stop start function together and put this transmission in sport mode here, it does a launch control. And let me show you, it actually gives you a warning that the feature that brakes the car, automatically, if something jumps in front of it, turns off when it's in that mode. There we go. Audi Presense currently restricted. So because it has launch control standard on a base model, you really do get those fast 0 to 60. The last reason is weight and dynamics. Audi is trying to get closer and closer to that 50-50 weight distribution, and because of the 60-40 split on the all-wheel drive, it feels like a rear-wheel drive car, and it doesn't feel that front heavy anymore, and it's lost weight over the old A4. When you put all those things together, better suspension tuning, the sport package lower by an inch, huge 19-inch rims, wheels, and tires that are also really nice and thick, along with everything I've mentioned so far, you definitely get the sportiest car in this class, and you'll be seeing more of exactly why that is in my comparison review. Can't say enough great things about this car. Let me know any questions you have in the drive review. I can go through and answer those in depth. I might respond in the comments, or I might respond in a video. Thanks guys, until next time, drive on.